The first time I heard her say my name, I didn't breathe. "Hi," she smiled, holding out her hand. "I'm Mrs. Thompson." "Mrs. Thompson. That's my name." The ballroom was glowing under crystal chandeliers. Glasses clinked. Soft jazz floated in the background. No one screamed. No one gasped. The world didn't stop. But something inside me did. My husband, Daniel Thompson, was standing right beside her. And he didn't correct her. Daniel and I had been married for 17 years. 17 years of packed lunches, late-night talks, mortgage payments, and quiet sacrifices. I had stood by him when his first business failed. I had sold my grandmother's bracelet to help cover his startup costs. And now he was a senior executive. This gala meant everything to him. When he asked me to attend, I thought it meant something to us too. He had been distant lately. Late meetings. Phone face down. Showering the moment he got home. I noticed, of course I noticed. But when you've loved someone that long, you convince yourself distance is just stress. I wore navy blue that night. Simple. Elegant. He used to say blue made my eyes look softer. "You look beautiful," he said before we left. It sounded practiced. When she introduced herself as Mrs. Thompson, I saw it clearly. The confidence in her posture. The way she leaned slightly toward Daniel. The way he avoided my eyes. She was younger. Polished. Red dress that hugged her curves like it belonged there. I didn't cause a scene. I didn't cry. I smiled. "Well," I said gently, "it's nice to finally meet you." She blinked at that. Dinner was announced. We were seated at the same table. 10 people. Senior executives. Their spouses. And the woman using my name. Daniel barely touched his food. His knee bounced under the table. Mine stayed still. The first course passed. The second. I listened carefully. She spoke about their apartment downtown. About how Daniel worked too hard. About how stressful promotions could be. Their apartment. I kept my voice calm. "Downtown?" I asked lightly. "That must be expensive." Daniel's hand tightened around his fork. "Oh, it's worth it," she said brightly. "When you're building a life together, you invest in comfort." Building a life together. 17 years. And I was apparently not included in the blueprint. Dessert arrived. Chocolate soufflé. And I decided it was time. I placed my napkin neatly beside my plate, took a sip of water, and stood up. Before the speeches began, I said, my voice steady, "I'd like to thank Daniel's company for inviting me tonight." A few heads turned politely. Daniel whispered sharply, "Rachel, sit down." I didn't. "I'm very proud of my husband," I continued. 17 years of marriage teaches you a lot about partnership. The word marriage hung in the air. Melissa's smile faltered. "I especially appreciate how hard he's worked to provide for our home in Maplewood. The one we bought 15 years ago." Silence spread slowly across the table. Someone coughed. Daniel looked like a man who had just stepped onto thin ice. I turned gently toward her. "And I must say," I added softly, "it's interesting meeting another Mrs. Thompson. I didn't realize my name was available for sharing." A fork dropped. The room wasn't loud. It was worse. It was quiet. Melissa's face drained of color. "Daniel," she whispered. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. I didn't yell. I didn't insult. I didn't expose private messages or throw accusations. I simply reached into my purse and placed my wedding ring on the table in front of him. 17 years. I repeated quietly. And I had to find out a dessert. Then I picked up my clutch. And I walked away. The next morning, the consequences arrived faster than I expected. Melissa resigned within the week. The company launched an internal investigation. Affairs between senior executives and subordinates violate policy, especially when deception is involved. Daniel's promotion vanished. So did his downtown apartment. He tried to come home. I had already changed the locks. Divorce is not revenge. It's clarity. The hardest part wasn't losing him. It was realizing I had been loyal to a version of him that no longer existed. Healing didn't happen overnight. Some mornings I still wake up expecting to hear his coffee cup clink against the counter. But I sleep peacefully now. Because dignity is louder than scandal, and silence, when timed right, can echo for a lifetime. Sometimes I wonder if I had screamed that night, would it have felt better? Or would I have lost something more important than a marriage? Tell me, if someone wore your name like it meant nothing, would you have waited for dessert? And if this story touched you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Sometimes the quietest strength makes the strongest statement.